Talk-3. All is Brahman. When objective knowledge comes to an end, the seer does not survive as a seer. At that moment, the pride of I, of ego, melts away. The seer remains only as long as the objects that are seen are considered to be real. The ego is conceptual, and so is the seer. If you call this city as Bombay, then it appears as Bombay. If you call it earth, it will appear as earth. It all depends upon the seer's concept. If you call a thing a chair, it is perceived as a chair. And if you call it wood, it is perceived as wood. If you say that all is Brahman, then everything is perceived as Brahman. If you call it the world, it is perceived as the world. Perception of objects depends on the concept of the seer. Brahman is beyond concept. It cannot be captured by any concept. There is a woman who one man calls wife, another sister, and a third calls daughter, while she is actually nothing but an animated lump of flesh and bones. Whatever you say happens. All is conceptual and depends upon the concept of the seer. The world and the being are conceptual. The seer who says that manifestation as the world is true is the ego. This ego has to be eradicated. If the ego vanishes, only Brahman remains. King Dhritarashtra of the Mahabharata was blind. He gave birth to 100 Kauravas and took pride in them. One who conceives of the body as being oneself is the blind king. He is also the one who is called Ravana in the Ramayana. All objects are demons, and because you give them that status, you are their king. Ravana. Ravana is not the rightful king. He is not the Lord. Because you consider objects to be true, you become Ravana. Rid yourself of this Ravana. The I does not exist. Getting rid of the sense of I can be called a wishful death. In the Ramayana, it is said that Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and upon the request of Ravana, Shiva gave him the boon of wishful death. This Ravana rules over the 14 regencies, or senses, the 5 of knowledge, the 5 of action, as well as the mind, intellect, the thoughts, and ego. When gods start to rule the earth, demons go to the netherworld, and when demons rule the earth, gods go away to perform penance. If objects are taken as true, it means that demons are ruling and God is absent. There is no trace of him. However, when God becomes victorious, when the conviction that all objects are false becomes firm, the demon I also disappears. When the ego is destroyed, everything is seen as only Brahman. Spiritual practice means seeing that the I and all objects seen are untrue. For the realized one, all is Brahman, absolute pure consciousness. Food, the wooden plank on which he sits while taking meals, the wife, and water are all manifestations of Brahman. All is Brahman. Study and practice this, and then God will rule. Brahman is without attributes. It is not music, it is not color, such as yellow or black. The ghee that is liquid and the ghee that is solid are the same, just as water is the same as ice. When a seed form of earth meets earth, there is a rise of consciousness. If matter is increasingly divided into infinitesimally smaller parts, ultimately it is seen to be only pure energy or consciousness. All that you see and perceive is nothing but Brahman. The seen is only qualified consciousness, just as bracelets are made only of gold. You must stop insisting that only good should happen to the body. You conceive that you have become the gross body because only this one body that you are holding is the main object of your concepts. Servants and attendants should be considered as God, since there is nothing other than Brahman. With or without attributes, all is God. Because we categorize objects, there is ego, the jiva. You perceive wife and daughter, horse or dog as separate, but they are all nothing but God. One need not change the form of the objects, only the attitude of the seer must change. Brahman is the same even when it is in a state with attributes. You must see Brahman in whatever state that Brahman exists. Even the atoms and molecules of a chair are all only God. Once this attitude is adopted, then one is Brahman oneself. Then, even though the body may be sleeping, awake, or eating, you have never taken a meal. When all is Brahman, what is eating and sleeping? The one who is without attributes and the one who speaks with attributes are both God. Whether a king sits on a throne or goes hunting, he is always the king. One is a devotee when he gives various names to objects and sees them as separate from himself. One is a sadhu, a true saint, or param atman, when one looks upon all creation as Brahman. To forget Brahman and eat food is to just turn into feces. Silkworms are better off than those who forget Brahman, as the silk from their cocoons is used by priests while worshiping God. Those who desire hell can digest hell. Gods and demons are right here. Gods and demons together churned the ocean of the world and got nectar and wine. Lord Vishnu gave nectar to the gods and wine to the demons. Saying that Vishnu did this means that the inner consciousness did this. Nectar and wine are right here. It is in your hands to drink the nectar and become immortal. One who wakes up will achieve reality. Say that all are God. May all be happy. If you practice this and take it to heart, then all is Brahman. One has to water a plant until it develops roots. Then it grows by itself. You must persist in your practice until you realize Brahman.